I will admit first off that I heard a lot of these deep web, dark web stories and I have always called bullshit. However, a close friend of mine swore that she had been to this place and that she had seen some really messed up things. Some she would talk about, others she refused. She said some of the things she had seen would haunt her for the rest of her life. I should have just let it go at that, but I wanted to believe that she was just making it all up and that there was no such place. But I knew I was the one that was wrong. So you know the drill by now. I downloaded Tor, Onion, and found the hidden wiki. I had been warned about some of the links and how they can trick you into some really crazy and horrible things. I clicked a few. They're mostly sex meetups, escort requests, drug deals. Needless to say, I was really starting to think I was right and that the deep web was just an easy way to make shady deals that could not be traced. It was lame, tame, and a little bit boring. I looked around for something remotely interesting until I found the link, the Night Watchmen. Okay, this could be interesting. I was thinking it might be some guy telling creepy stories or walking around a sleepy town at night or something. But what greeted me was a flat black page with 3 videos blown up to cover the space, sitting side by side in a line. They were paused, and on each of them was a picture of different people. The first one had a family of 4, mom, dad, and 2 little girls. The second was a couple with a female who was obviously very pregnant, and the third was just one woman and her dog, a cute black lab with a white streak over his left eye. Before I could study them for too long, a voice came through.
Good evening. Tonight, the Night Watchmen have brought you 3 unique households. Each of them with different lives, believe different things, have different future plans.
Then he told me to.
Watch each video and then choose one.
I really didn't understand the point of this task, but honestly, my interest was piqued. I was curious about where this was going. So I clicked the first video, and there wasn't much to it. It showed the family in their home, skipping through moments of them watching TV, playing in the backyard, having supper, the parents putting the kids to bed, and then starting to be intimate. So it cut off there, thank God. I was starting to feel like a weird creep. I was seeing a part of people's lives that were meant to be private. I reluctantly clicked the next video, and I was transported into the home of a young couple getting ready to start a family. It skipped through to them in the baby's room, hugging and generally looking excited. They ate salads at the kitchen table, went through mail, looked through baby books and magazines, watched a show on TV, and then went to bed, snuggling up together. This one was so sweet I couldn't help but smile at what I had seen. However, I was still a voyeur in their personal moments. I had gone through the others, but I figured it was only right to watch the last one. This one was of a single woman living with just her dog. She was a bit of a slob. She had dishes piled up, laundry on a love seat in the living room, and the trash was overflowing. The other 2 had been pretty tidy, the family having some toys and laundry lying around, the couple with a very clean house. I wondered if there was a point to all of this, since it did show these aspects in the videos. Anyway, the woman seemed lonely. She watched a lot of TV, ate a half-gallon of ice cream, and checked her cell phone every few moments. Obviously, she was hoping for a call or a text. She played fetch with her dog, fed him, and then went to bed, taking her phone with her. Then she began to, touch herself, and I began to feel really awkward. Thankfully, this one ended there as well. I waited to see what was next. The videos reset and went back to the stills of each one again. Then the voice came back and said,
Now that you have seen, which will you choose?
I sat there and watched, praying that someone else here was watching this too and would choose. But nothing happened for a few minutes. The videos disappeared and another 3 videos began playing simultaneously. And these turned my stomach. They were all 3 tall men. I assumed they were men by what character I could catch. They each wore the same clothing, black shirt, pants, boots, and a long black trench coat that dangled around their ankles. To top it all, they each wore a large, wide-brimmed black hat.
Have you decided? Which one will you choose?
The voice chimed in over the obviously live feed.
Death comes on swift wings for our ill-fated friends. You must choose one, that is how the game goes.
He thought this was a game? I was horrified. Was I really supposed to choose who died here and who survived? It was ridiculous, and I went to close the page down. Calmly, the voice began again.
Before you close us down, you should know that if you do not choose one of the three shown here, your family will be next.
I was startled by his declaration, but I figured that he was just trying to scare me. And, well, he was doing a really good job, truthfully.
Caitlin, dear sweet Caitlin, I know it's a difficult choice, but it must be made. Please, if you will, direct the night watchmen to their chore.
The original videos came back up, and I knew that it meant it was time for me to pick someone to die. So maybe it's just a horrible joke that some hacker and his friends like to play on unsuspecting deep web surfers, I stated out loud. It was more to make me feel better than anything, even though my heart was still pounding. I looked at the people again. There was a family there, children. I couldn't choose them. Then there was the expectant couple. I couldn't do this, it was too much.
You have to choose.
The man said. It was the lovely woman with a dog for a companion. She had the least to lose. She was alone without kids or a husband. It wasn't okay, but I quickly clicked her video.
Very well. So shall it be.
The voice was calm and smooth once again. The videos of the night watchman came back up.
Night watchman, a choice has been made. You may attend to your work.
I watched in horror as two of the watchmen began walking toward the houses in front of them, and the third one walked away from a house. I was confused. I chose the lonely woman, but her watchman was walking away. He disappeared into the night and the feed cut off. The other two videos grew bigger and took up the screen. What's going on? What's going on? Was all I could say. The two watchmen that it showed, each effortlessly broke into the houses. I was biting my bottom lip so hard it bled. The feeds walked along with them as they each silently roamed through the houses. One watchman walked into the set-up baby room and looked around gingerly, then made his way across the hall to the other bedroom. The other watchman walked slowly down the hall, seemingly trying to decide which room to enter. He chose the children's room. I looked over to the first one. He stood at the foot of the sleeping couple's bed, holding a huge machete. He walked to one side and began swinging wildly. There were screams so loud and frightened that I felt like I was about to pass out or throw up. I looked over to the other video reluctantly. The watchman stood in the children's room, right in the center of the pink bunk bed. He also brandished a machete. I screamed as he raised it up and reached over and pulled the computer plug out of the wall. I was terrified, traumatized. What had I just witnessed? What had I just done? My mouth felt dry, my head was spinning out of control, my heart felt like it was about to burst out of my chest. After several hours, I decided to check my computer and hope that the nightmare I had witnessed was gone. There was nothing. Days later, I was checking my email when I stopped and recoiled in horror. There was an email from the night watchman, so I finally opened it. I really don't know why. Maybe I was hoping they would tell me I'd been punked or something. Instead, it was just a few large words on an otherwise white background. Caitlin, thank you for excluding her from a night watchman fate. We thank you for your choices too. We truly enjoyed our encounter with you. Come play again anytime. Attached is a picture of the lonely woman walking her dog in the park, still looking down at her phone. I will never, ever access the deep web again. Oh, I don't know where to start. I still can't believe this happened to me, and I think I will be scarred for life. I'm currently a 40-year-old single woman living with two large Dobermans for protection. So let me start from the beginning. When I was 29 years old, I was single and living in Miami, Florida, with a small one-bedroom apartment. My best view was looking at the back parking lot with two dumpsters. My car was 8 years old and had issues that I could not afford to repair. I ate a lot of ramen soup and took 5-minute showers to save water. Life was stressful, to say the least. While my friends were going out or vacationing, I was broke and working 2 jobs to pay the rent. My full-time, soul-sucking job was sitting behind a desk all day processing orders for a furniture store, and my other job required being yelled at for accidentally putting mustard on a burger. As soon as I got paid, my checks were gone. Remember the movie Groundhog Day? Yep, that was my life. Until I met the man that would change my life forever, but sadly, not in a good way. His name was George. He was 35 and worked at the same furniture store, but as a senior manager. He was handsome, well-dressed, tall with dark hair, ocean blue eyes, and slim build. He was also kind and had a great sense of humor. We would briefly chat as we would pass each other in the hallways. Every time I saw him, I would feel butterflies. When I would work and see him walking around, I would daydream about us going out on dates and driving around in his candy apple red Tesla. Well, the day eventually came when he asked me out on a real date. I couldn't believe it. Our first date was amazing. We went to a fancy Italian restaurant and a horror movie, of course. The conversation just flowed and we felt a mutual connection. He seemed a little distracted, but he assured me it was work-related. So one date turned into more dates until we fell in love and moved in together a year later. After a few weeks of living together, George's role at work changed and he had to travel for work. Each week he had to travel on set days, Thursday and Friday. I didn't mind so much because he was making more money and seemed to enjoy his job. So if he was happy, I was happy. But one thing bothered me. Anytime I would try to reach him while he was away, he would never answer his phone or text me back. When he was home at the office, he would always answer. I noticed he would pack more clothes than he needed for these trips. When he would come home from his work trips, he would always need to bring disposable cameras to the local pharmacy to get them developed. What pictures could he be taking? His job was more finance related. Anytime I would ask him about these things, he would just say he was in meetings and could not answer, and the photos are from sightseeing. Okay, well, I guess that's possible. But something just didn't feel right. So I decided to do some digging to put my mind at ease. So I asked my friend Jenna for her advice, and she told me to hire a private investigator. This person could follow him to see where he's going, who he's calling, or who he's spending time with. So at first I laughed off the idea, but after a few days of thinking about it, I decided to hire one. I went on Google and searched endlessly until I found him, the guy that would give me my answers, the answers that I really never wanted. His company, Todd's Private Eyes, had 5 stars and rave reviews, so I called him and set up an appointment. When I went to his office to go over all the details, I met Todd himself. He was stocky, bald, and wore all black with a matching trench coat and dark glasses. It felt very cliche. He was straight to the point and I gave him all the details. I told him George will be in Tampa, Florida on Thursday, June 15th and Friday the 16th. So he charged me $50 an hour to start looking into George's whereabouts. I was so nervous and dreaded finding out anything bad. Well, I thought worst case scenario he'd be cheating on me or maybe he has some kids. George was always kind and loving towards me. What could he possibly find out? Well, after 4 weeks, Todd called me. He wanted to meet at the local grocery store parking lot to tell me what he found. Oh, I was in shock. I felt sick to my stomach after what he had told me and showed me. I saw pictures, the website, the victims. It was gruesome. How could this be? George, he's not capable of this. Well, it turns out when George travels for work, it's not for his finance job at the furniture store. It's for a deeper, darker, horrible secret job. Have you ever heard of the dark or deep web? I have heard of it when I was in high school. Some of the kids would talk about it and dare each other to go on the browser, but I've never been on it. I've always been too afraid. I mean, you go on these sites and then some murderer comes knocking on your door. Well, go figure. Even though I've never been on the sites, I ended up living with one of those murderers. George, also known as Mason by his associates, was a part of a group that ran a dark web site called Park City. There were 4 men and 3 women that worked together to kidnap, torture, then kill their victims. Oh, these innocent victims varied from young to old, men to women. They had families and jobs. The pictures he took were of his victims being tortured and killed in various ways. The extra clothes he packed were the clothes he wore as Mason. When he would get home, he would have them washed and stored in a bin in the closet. After I found this out, I was too scared to go home, so I moved in with my parents. I waited for his next work trip and went to the apartment, packed my things, and moved out of state. Obviously, I did not tell him, and to this day, I have not spoken to him. Never again will I date someone from work.